Alright guys, so right now I just finished checking the block. I'll make the bore and everything, made sure it's all good. Um Checked it with the piston wall clearance, trying to check them, double check them, triple check them if you want. But right now what I'm doing is I am setting my main bearing clearances. So what I usually do is I buy a standard size and a .026 millimeter undersize, 1 thou tighter clearance. For the last, you know, 10 engines that I've built, those are the sizes that I get to use. I don't really necessarily build like over 1,000 horsepower engines, so I don't, you know, I haven't explored that area where I need more than 2.5 thou clearance. But enough of that. Here's a personal build. This is mine, and I actually don't know if I'm gonna go boosted or just stay in A. But like, I built this to be a really capable, naturally aspirated engine. Has boarded heads, um, big bores, big intake manifold, not ported. You know, a lot of tuners talk about that, but nobody really cares if it's ported or not. Don't make a change. So what you want to have is you want to have an outside mic like this, which you measure your main journal. These are called main journals. Don't touch that. You don't want to touch it with bare hands usually, or if you want to put WD-40 in your fingers, it'd be a lot better because sometimes when you touch them, they oxidize pretty quick because they're bare metal, and you don't want that. And those are that one right there, that one, and that one. Those are raw journals. That's main. That's a main. That's a main. The mains are the ones where the crankshaft sits on the block. That's what holds the crankshaft in place in the block. And if you measure the main using the mic, it's called a micrometer. And when you're measuring them, you're tightening them to the outside diameter of the main. You don't want to tighten them using this. You want to use the ratchet one, because that kind of sets a standard that you're not over tightening one. So you're measuring this one tighter and this one a lot more tighter or looser if you're not using that, because that kind of becomes the standard. Because if you try to rotate here, you could have been tightening it more and hit more on this side than this one. So if your micrometer has that ratcheting mechanism right there, I say that's a really good micrometer. And second, you need to have is a dial bore gauge. It's an inside mic or a bore gauge. So you're comparing the size of that. You're gonna zero this to your micrometer, and you're gonna measure every single mains. But you gotta do that one by one. You measure the main on that last one, which is the fifth one, and you measure the fifth one right here on the inside diameter. And how you measure that is you measure the mains with this, the inside mic or the outside mic, and then you zero your bore gauge to your mic, and then you put it inside here, kind of like this. And it's not moving. You see that? Let me see. You see that right there? That's about 1.5 thou. Sorry, the light is a little. Let me turn the lights for you. So let me fix that again. If you look at that, that's about 1 thou and about 1.8 thou, almost 1.8 thou. That's pretty much how you measure the clearance between the main journal and the bearings. So that says whatever number you came out with, that like what I did is 1.8 thou. That's how much oil film clearance between this and that bearing, and you don't want them to make contact. I'm measuring about 1.7 thou to 2 thou, which is pretty much like the Ford Illuminator XS clearance recommendations or tolerances that are in the book. Um, Sometimes you'll have like you always want to have a record of what you're doing, like the number 5 mains. This is the last one. I like doing the last one because if you do that first main first and you're gonna be doing this last 3, your bore gauge is gonna be hitting this. As you see, you can't really measure that with this in a way. So I kind of want to do it from this way to the last or to the first main, and you kind of want to have a record. So let's say this is 2.5 thou, and you measure 1.5 thou here first, and then that's why I have a standard, and I have a 0.026 titer and standard size. So let's say this is half a thou tight, and you replace 1/2 with a standard, and it becomes, well, the size that you wanted, which is, half a thou looser. And let's say this one is 0.025. You can switch the half that you took out from this to make this one tighter, so make it 2 thou. So kind of like this one, I've been switching a lot of them. That one I kind of got lucky, right on the money, I'd say. But at first I didn't like the 0.016, and I switched the other half to a standard, and it was too loose. And I switched it again, and then I still didn't like that. It was over 2 thou. I kind of just want to keep it under 2 thou. And I decided to put both 0.026 in, and I got 0.014 for some reason. I don't know why, but I decided to replace the halves, the 2 halves that I have, to the upper halves, which is, I want to say the upper one is the block. I had that one standard, or actually no, I had the 0.026 tighter one, and I put the lower half to the main cap, which is the standard one, and I came up with 0.0018, and I think that's right on the money too. I want to keep it around 0.0017 to 2 thou. So I'm planning on using 5W50 oil, and you gotta put that on the planning on bearing sizes you want to run. Of course, more bearing clearances it requires thicker oil. If you don't run that, you're probably gonna rattle the main and the bearings, and you're just not gonna make the engine live long. It's not gonna have a happy life. Yeah, that's pretty much how you measure the bearings, or how you set the tolerances. What else? Yeah, pretty much that's it for now, and I'll walk you guys later. I'm also measuring clearances on the bearings or the journals for the cams. I have those just because I don't have a really small dial bore gauge and a really small micrometer, so I'm using this as a reference. It's ink, and you just ink the journals and put the cam in there, put a little oil in it, and spin them, see if it leaves any marks. If it does, it's probably tight or bent. But yeah, I'll walk you guys through that one. But you always want to have a record always keep everything clean because you don't want any material, let's say like this one, you don't want any material getting the surface of the where the main cap mates to the block. You always want to keep that clean, because if not, it's gonna throw your clearances off. And make sure everything's always clean. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And don't forget, when you're checking the clearances, always torque the main cap bolts, not just tightening it by hand. You always want to torque that. I actually left the torque wrench inside the house, my bad. But you use that to tighten it, just a little snug, and then you torque wrench it in, and then you measure outside uh, the outside diameter by using the bore gauge. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll give you guys an update later on.